Hey, this is ThinkerThunker. Do Bigfoot skeptics sometimes know what they're talking about? I'm going to cover their top 5 objections to my Bigfoot versus Buffalo video. Here we go. Okay, starting at 5, working our way up to number 1. This one is actually the most clever thing I've ever heard a Bigfoot skeptic say. They actually used a technical camera term, which can and does make objects in the background appear larger or closer, relative to something in the foreground. And so skeptics claim this is why the mystery figure here appears as large as it does, relative to the buffalo. And what's most clever about claiming zoom compression as the culprit is that chances are most people don't have the gear, or better yet, the time to test this out properly. Unfortunately for skeptics, I do. Okay, in this shot we see the same 3 signs evenly spaced across this parking lot. See a full mountain back here, we see a full tree back here, and in the next shot, same signs, same location, same day, same camera, same lens even, but this time I've got my lens zoomed all the way in. And notice how the background, everything seems much closer now and bigger. That's zoom compression. And I'll just go back and forth. Here's unzoomed, zoomed, unzoomed, zoomed. So yes, there is a phenomenon called zoom compression, and it does make objects in the background appear larger and closer. But what skeptics didn't tell you is that the only way this works is if your camera is like right there at the front object. So here's the setup for my first shot, the unzoomed shot. And here's the setup just a few feet back further for the zoomed in shot. And there is no way in the world that Yellowstone's webcam was this close or anywhere near that close to the buffalo. Okay, so here's another look at zoom compression. Unzoomed, zoomed, unzoomed, zoomed. Now, notice signs 2 and 3 back here. Sign 2 is about 30 yards out. Sign 3 is about another 30 yards. Notice that their size relative to each other never really changes. Look, sign 3 is about half the size of sign 2. In the first shot, it's the very same, half the size of sign 2. So zoom compression has little to no effect on objects that are further back away from the camera, like these 2 signs are. Just like the buffalo and whatever the 4 mystery guests are, they're much further back away from the camera, and so zoom compression would have little to no effect on them. And by the way, Yellowstone NPS replied on Twitter and told me the security camera that was used is a Canon VB-841. Here on the right, it's a nice, compact little security camera. It pans and zooms. It's very cool. And it's mounted, I'll guess, about 300 yards away from where the buffalo were, up on a tree outside their camera shop, there where all the tourist facilities are. On the left is my camera and zoom. And obviously, the larger the zoom lens, like mine, the more dramatic the compression effect you get. So, sorry skeptics, nice try, I guess, but zoom compression, major fail for you guys. And it makes you wonder, did skeptics really not have the slightest idea what they were talking about, yet rolled out en masse with their whole zoom compression theory? Or did they know what they were talking about and withheld information, only told half the truth because they are that desperate to make people believe the way they want them to believe? Either way, I would say good luck skeptics in ever trying to sell a technical explanation again. Number 4, those aren't Bigfoots, they're cross-country skiers. Okay, so who better to ask than the experts over at Cross Country Ski Technique? Cool people, check out their channel, and they were kind enough to let me use some of their footage, and this clip is perfect. Okay, so there's several different styles of cross-country skiing. And look at this guy making it look easy. And coming up right here. Watch his back foot. See how he gets that drive? Looking classic. He's coming way back. And on skating, he comes way back and out. And that's what's giving him his drive. That's what's pushing him forward, propelling him forward. That and the use of his poles. And look at his torso even. Look at his body position. He's leaning forward. And these four back here look absolutely nothing like that. See here, we're seeing relatively short strides. Their feet aren't coming up much at all. Their torsos look to be perfectly upright, and their arms to their sides. No poles. Of course, I guess you don't have to have poles. And a lot of people say, hey, I'm not seeing the shin rise, like I talk about it in my 21 degrees between Bigfoot and you video. And no, you don't really see that, but you know, maybe they walk differently when they're on snow and ice, because we do. Now, I have to admit that Kim over at crosscountryskitechnic.com said these two examples are more advanced than what your average cross-country skier might look like. So, I sent her this clip. I asked if these four look like skiers to her, and she said, the four figures don't look like they're on skis. There's no glide in their stride, and I really like that term, by the way. You can see how they pick their feet up at the end of their step, which even a beginner cross-country skier won't do. A beginner would slide his foot forward. And so sorry, skeptics, major fail number 4 for you guys. I think I'm gonna have to side with the experts on this one. They were definitely not skiers. And thank you, Kim, for all your help. It's a fantastic sport. Go learn how to do it from the experts. Number 3, why no shadow for the guys in the back? That proves that it's CGI and therefore a hoax. Well, skeptics, here's a tip. CGI is more than capable of doing realistic shadows. So lack of shadows doesn't prove that it's CGI. And I explained 1 minute and about 7 seconds into the video that I grabbed a copy of Tiny from the background and pulled him up with a buffalo just for comparison's sake. So, I mean, come on, if you guys are too lazy to even watch the video before you form your opinion, that's just sad. So there's Tiny back in the background doing his hobble walk, and right there's the shadow. You see that? You seeing it fall across right here? And now, if you'll compare the length of his shadow to the buffalo shadow, his looks much longer, which I bet is going to mean that suddenly skeptics could care less about shadows. And that's major fail number 3 for skeptics. All right, number 2. Some skeptics felt that the reason Tiny, the guy from the back, looked as tall as he did when I compared him or it to the buffalo was 1, they're tiny buffaloes, or at least smaller than normal, but mainly 2, that it's snowing or had been, and that the poor buffalo's legs are buried deep down into the snow, where this guy here is just standing up on top of the snow. Well, that's easy enough to check out. Okay, so look at this area here. Doesn't look like we're seeing much snow. And we're seeing a bald patch over here on the bottom right. So it's not like there's feet of snow piled up anyway. So here's a pretty good shot where we can see the buffalo's legs. And now what if I've just added some extensions there? How does that look? Now I'm going to make them a little bit longer. Now let's go super long. I mean, is that how long you skeptics are thinking Bigfoot or buffalo's legs really are, and they're sunk that far down in the snow? That's why they're looking so short? Even way back here at the first step, it looks kind of ridiculous. I mean, buffalo's legs aren't that long. Plus, look at the snow back here. I mean, you can see the shadow on that. That's not very deep. And watch them walking. Watch this guy right here. It's not like he's really having to labor and push through, you know, feet or even more than just, I mean, it's just a couple of inches of snow. 3 maybe at best, 3 or 4. So major fail number 2. No, the buffalo are not standing in feet of snow, making them look shorter than whoever or whatever Tiny is. So here we are at number 1, the top objection Bigfoot skeptics had against my video. And it's number 1 because skeptics actually finally got one right. Here it is. In my intro, I accidentally said Yosemite instead of Yellowstone National Park. That's it. That's all the brain power skeptics really have. They can't get any observations right, apparently, and surely nothing technical, but they are capable of pointing out petty little nitpicky things that really have nothing to do with anything. And boy, did they come out en masse to do just that with all the objections you just heard against my video. And that really does illustrate that skeptics never really have any legitimate arguments about any of this. It's always the same old man in a monkey suit CGI stuff. And I don't believe it's because they're that dumb. They couldn't possibly be. I think it's just that skeptics are so inexplicably blinded by hate. Wherever this topic comes up, they'll say or believe anything, no matter how ridiculous, just as long as it's 100% against the notion that there are big, furry giants out there making us all look a little stupid. Even science, and that's why scientists join in on the snickering and the sneering, they hate just as bad to admit that sometimes we humans might not be in control of every situation and don't know everything there is to know about everything. I mean, if we did, we wouldn't need scientists anymore. And all of this goes against the very nature of science and learning. To be willing to learn means you're admitting you don't know everything, and we don't. Now, some of these skeptic hater guys here on YouTube even went so far as to make videos denouncing my video, using all these same lame objections we just covered, including their beloved zoom compression, which we now know is a joke or a half-truth, at least in this instance. And what's sad and even a little scary, these guys actually have subscribers looking to them for information, or did. And one guy was so desperate to have something to say against my video, well, he lied. His number 1 objection was that I said Yellowstone National Park was remote. Well, it is, isn't it? I mean, it's not like 1,000 miles from nowhere remote, but when the nearest airport is over 70 miles away, that's at least kind of remote. But the point is, he lied. I didn't say anything even remotely like that, pun intended. I mean, maybe you guys should try actually watching these videos before you make your big breakdowns on them, or at least try looking up some of the big words like remote. But then it's not about real information for you guys, is it? It's all about the hate. And that means you're not even really skeptics. You're more like nihilists. Look that up as well. Then this one guy goes on to educate us all on how the 4 back there were never in any kind of danger, like I said they might be, because according to him, buffalo are no more dangerous than cattle. Now, that came as a surprise to me because I grew up in a ranching family. So I searched the term American buffalo, and quoting from Wiki, between 1980 and 1999, more than 3 times as many people in Yellowstone National Park were injured by bison than bears. And by the way, since you skeptics seem so interested in educating us, you don't have to capitalize moose, elk, and cattle. Those are common nouns. But anyway, these guys, they're not interested in real information or the truth. They just want to dumb things down. And boy, do they. And what I find a little more troubling, every day I find comments waiting for me that have been flagged as inappropriate. Not because of profanity or abusive language, but because some of you posted maybe a supportive comment or had something pertinent to add to the conversation, and these haters just can't have that. So they flag your comments just as another tactic in an attempt to shut the conversation down. I mean, what is the deal with all this hate? And isn't it at least kind of weird that skeptics dedicate such a big part of their lives to specifically not believing in Bigfoot and hating the fact that people are out there discussing Bigfoot, trying to learn more? It just makes them insane. You know, there's plenty of topics I don't believe in or subscribe to, but knock yourselves out. You know, what do I care? Enjoy. It's not hurting me a bit. But that's not good enough for these haters. They won't be happy until everybody thinks and believes exactly the way they do and the way they want us to. And you know what? That's how dictators think. And that's creepy. Maybe it's time to do to them what they're already doing to you and us. When you see an abusive, hateful comment, flag it. If you've got a video out there and you're facing this wall of hate and abuse, ban the abusers. And I'm not talking about people who are here to discuss or maybe have differing opinions. It's healthy to have two sides to an argument. But the bullying, badgering, and abuse, that's taking it too far. And the reason I'm bringing all this up, and the main reason I even did this video, is because it kind of makes me sick thinking about how many people are out there who've had real encounters and maybe even have taken amazing photos or maybe even shot the footage that we've all been waiting for, but they know they'll face this tsunami of hate and bullying and badgering and ridicule, so they'll never come forward. Enough already with the hate. Be civil or be silent. And I know I'm going to face yet another wall of hate for shining a little light on just how ugly all this has become. But I say, go for it, haters. Get out there on those forums and comment boards, lurk and troll, give me hell. Because ultimately, what you guys are doing is working hard to send me more views and even more subscribers. So thank you, skeptics or nihilists, whatever you are. I appreciate at least that. It's kind of nice knowing something positive comes from all that hate. So there you go. That was our big countdown. Your turn to weigh in. Thank you guys for listening.